talking to Bill Stormont, Chief Operating Officer, First Block Capital. Bill, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
So, Bill, you guys launched, we were just talking about it, you were just talking about the new ETF that you've launched on the NEO Exchange.
Yes.
Can you talk about that a little bit?
Sure. So it's called the FBC Distributed Ledger Technology Adopters ETF, which is a bit of a mouthful, but we wanted to use distributed ledger technology to really capture...
It is a mouthful.
It is a mouthful.
But you know what? ETF names have been getting longer and longer, haven't they? I mean,
that's very true. But DLT, blockchain is a subset of DLT, and there are other forms of distributed ledger that may well supplant the enthusiasm for blockchain. So
yeah.
We felt a broad church was better than a narrow one. There are also, I think, some issues around the use of the word blockchain. You've seen it with the SEC in the US, for example. Similar ETFs down there don't use the word blockchain. Exactly.
How is your ETF offering different?
Well, it's different in the sense that a lot of people have targeted the developers, the sort of grassroots companies, which is fantastic. There's a demand for that. They tend to be smaller cap, they tend to be higher risk, tend to be more binary outcomes in their model. The adopters element of our name is key. So what we've decided to do was create a product that focused on household name companies primarily, companies that are integrating DLT into their current operating model and using it to enhance their processes, gain competitive advantage, reduce costs, increase speed, all of these features that start to come through. So it's a medium risk product, it's an actively managed product. I think it has to be actively managed because it's such a fluid world that we have
Sure.
out there. So
it's very new.
Yeah, it's very new,
Yeah.
and developments come and go, and there will be those that walk away from their blockchain product. They'll say, there's no point in us adopting this. There are use cases where a centralized database may be perfectly suitable for their applications. So we feel like having a large cap focused, actively managed, medium risk product, there's a market for that in all the conversations that we had, and we feel like this isn't necessarily an overnight sensation type of thing, but PwC has cited 84% of corporations are in some way or another investigating, adopting, implementing blockchain solutions in their businesses. And from our point of view, that's really encouraging, but it doesn't necessarily come through to the bottom line like that. There's a lag between, you've got existing systems, you need to change your culture, you need to bring in new people, you need to really get buy-in around the idea, and that doesn't happen overnight. So you need to be a first mover in that respect. And we feel like that's going to start to come through for those who have taken that step. So companies like Walmart, companies like Maersk, who are involved in this process early on, will see an advantage to be had from adopting this. The hedge in all of this is these kind of companies are fantastic companies with or without blockchain. So if
these are companies, sorry to interrupt you, Bill, but these are companies that would use the distributed ledger for tracking shipments, for tracking distribution
Absolutely.
of their products that are going from manufacturing to the shelf.
Absolutely. So
or in the case of shipping, containers and...
Yeah, exactly right. And removing that middle layer in between, so you don't have that cost that is associated with the middle. You have a very direct drive. And if you think of some of the things that have happened where, say, the Tylenol recall that happened many years ago now, but very painful for the company involved. You do not want this stuff hitting the shelf. So it's those kind of use cases that are coming through, and we're starting to see prosper.
Your ETF, just to recap, first of all, what's the ticker?
FBCN, and it trades on the NEO Exchange.
Okay, and in the ETF, the companies, it's going to be mostly a large cap fund?
I should say it's primarily large cap, but we do have scope to put up to 25% of the portfolio into smaller cap, more direct drive blockchain names. I mean, those are, if we have a large rally or there's something we find particularly compelling in that space, our sub-advisor, Stonecastle Investment Management, has a remit to go in there. So you'll get that beta effect in our fund as well. But we see it as a diverse global portfolio. The MSCI World is our benchmark. It's a global portfolio. It's not a sector fund that's got a huge tech weighting. It's not, it's a diversified portfolio that is, I think, really provides this medium risk exposure to economic opportunity generally, with a blockchain or DLT tilt to the upside, which I think is a really compelling offer. You don't have to be a blockchain evangelist to own our ETF, but why wouldn't you look at this and say they've curated these stocks to take advantage of what we believe is a foundational shift in the economy, and the companies that are taking advantage of that, or that are leading the charge, are the ones that are going to outperform over time. And that's sort of the broad thesis.
It's fascinating. We're going to keep an eye on it, Bill.
Thanks
so much for joining us.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Pleasure. Thank you.